This is not breaking news. This is not a scandal. This is not about one person. This is about a quiet, invisible force. A force that has shaped the world for decades, yet remains unaccountable to anyone. An entity so powerful that it can bend entire nations to its will without a single vote cast in its direction. An organization that can force a democratically elected government to slash pensions, privatize hospitals, fire teachers, and sell off national resources to foreign corporations. All with no public consent, no oversight. And it has been doing this for years. It's called the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. Now, you've probably heard of it. Maybe you've even heard that it helps countries in financial crisis. That's the story they want you to believe. But what if that's not the full story? What if the IMF isn't a lifeline for struggling economies, but the very force that keeps them shackled in an endless cycle of debt and dependency? Stay with me. I'm going to show you exactly how it works. By the end of this video, you'll see a system in motion that most people don't even know exists. A system that keeps the global south in a perpetual state of poverty while the wealth flows steadily north. And you'll understand why this isn't just about economics. This is about power. But don't go anywhere, because this is only the beginning. So let's get something straight. The IMF doesn't answer to you. It doesn't answer to anyone who gets elected. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It holds more power over your life than your own government does. The IMF operates behind the scenes, pulling strings while governments face public pressure. And it's not a neutral organization. It's not there to help. It's there to control. But who exactly is pulling those strings? Let me break it down for you. The IMF's influence isn't random. It's strategically placed in the hands of a few. A handful of wealthy countries, like the United States and Western Europe, hold the majority of voting power. The more money they contribute, the more votes they get. The result? The richest nations control the fate of the world's poorest, and they make sure it stays that way. When a country is struggling, maybe it's a currency crisis, capital flight, or debt out of control, the IMF steps in. It offers a solution, but that solution comes at a cost. And it's never a cost that helps the people in the country. It's a cost that protects the interests of the banks, the corporations, the global elite. You see, the IMF doesn't stabilize economies. It doesn't encourage growth. It ensures that wealth keeps flowing upwards into the hands of the powerful. Stay with me, because in a moment, we're going to get to how this system is built to trap entire nations in cycles of dependency. And it's far worse than you think. Here's the most dangerous part: the change you can't see. The kind of change that sneaks up on you so slow, so gradual, that by the time you notice, it's already too late. The IMF didn't start out this way. When it was founded back in 1944, the idea was simple: help countries in crisis, provide temporary relief. But what you didn't hear is that it was designed to serve the interests of the richest nations from the very beginning. At first, it didn't look like this. But as decades passed, something shifted. Slowly, steadily, the IMF moved from being a temporary lifeline to a permanent fixture in the economic lives of developing countries. And with each passing year, its influence grew. The result? A massive shift in the global economic landscape. What was once a tool for short-term aid became the tool of long-term control. Think about it. Each time a country accepts IMF help, it gets more dependent. The conditions become more stringent, the debt piles up higher. Governments are forced to adopt policies that only benefit foreign corporations and investors, not their own citizens. And here's the catch. This shift is so slow that by the time people realize what's happened, it's too late to turn back. Let's zoom in. Let's talk about the real-world effects of the IMF's policies. You've heard the promises: we'll stabilize the economy, we'll help you grow. But when the rubber hits the road, the story is always the same. Take Jamaica, for example. In the 1,970 seconds and 80 seconds, the country borrowed from the IMF. It followed the prescribed cure-to-the-letter massive cuts in social spending. Healthcare, education, slashed. What happened next? Hospitals ran out of medicine. Schools were underfunded. Teachers were let go. And an entire generation paid the price. But it gets worse. While Jamaica's social systems crumbled, the country paid more in debt servicing than it spent on health and education combined. Debt repayments became a never-ending cycle of extraction. Is this really aid? Is this really a lifeline? Or is it something far worse, something designed to ensure that countries stay in debt, dependent, and powerless? Stay with me. I'm about to show you how this cycle of destruction isn't an accident. It's the result of a system that's been designed for exploitation. Now, let's peel back the curtain on how this system actually works. The IMF doesn't just hand out loans and walk away. It's much more insidious. It's a finely tuned mechanism of control. When a country agrees to IMF terms, they're agreeing to a set of demands. The IMF isn't just making suggestions, it's dictating terms. These conditions, they aren't about helping the people, they're about enriching foreign investors and multinational corporations. The first demand, devaluation of the currency. This isn't about making exports competitive, it's about making the poor even poorer. When a country's currency is devalued, everything they import becomes exponentially more expensive. Food, energy, medicine. This isn't economic reform, it's economic destruction. Next up, massive austerity measures. The IMF tells the government to cut social spending, education, healthcare, public services while still paying foreign creditors in full. Public servants lose their jobs while the rich get richer. And the final blow, privatization. The IMF demands that national assets, electricity, water, banks be sold off to foreign corporations, usually for pennies on the dollar. What does this mean for the people? Higher costs, fewer jobs, and less control over their own resources. This isn't an accident. This is the IMF's playbook. The pace is quickening now. The IMF's poison is starting to take full effect, and the consequences are escalating. It's not just theory anymore. It's real. Let's talk about Argentina. In the 1,990 seconds, Argentina followed the IMF's advice, privatization, deregulation, and opening up its markets. The IMF praised the country as a shining example of economic success. But what happened? In 2001, the entire system collapsed. The currency crashed. Banks shut their doors. Poverty soared, affecting more than half the population. Middle-class families saw their savings evaporate overnight. Is this what help looks like? Is this the IMF's idea of economic recovery? Let's keep moving. Greece, more recently, was subjected to brutal austerity measures under IMF pressure. Salaries were slashed, pensions were cut by 40%, health services were dismantled. And what was the result? The Greek economy shrank by a staggering 25%. Youth unemployment soared past 50%. But the banks that lent to Greece, they were paid in full. This is the IMF's legacy. Widespread suffering, financial collapse, and the relentless extraction of wealth from struggling nations. Now, let's talk about times, you asterisk. You sitting there watching this, because this isn't just about faraway countries, this is about you too. You might not see it every day, but make no mistake, this system is impacting your life. When the IMF forces countries to cut social spending, privatize essential services, and devalue their currencies, those consequences ripple out. You might not feel it immediately, but the effects are global. Every time a country like Greece or Jamaica pays off its debts, instead of investing in education or healthcare, the world becomes a little more unequal, a little more fragile, a little less connected. So ask yourself, when you pay higher prices for food or gas, when you hear about rising inequality, when you see governments cutting back on services that were once guaranteed, what's really happening? It's not just bad policy. It's not just mismanagement. It's a system designed to keep you dependent, to keep the wealth flowing in one direction. This system has been designed to make sure that the richest keep getting richer and the rest of the world keeps paying the price. And guess what? It's working. But this isn't just about one country. It's not even just about a few countries. This is a global issue. And the ripple effects are massive. When the IMF enforces these policies, it's not just the local economy that suffers, it's the entire global system. What happens in Greece doesn't stay in Greece. The collapse of a national economy doesn't just hurt that nation, it creates instability across the globe. Markets shake. Foreign investors lose confidence. And suddenly, the entire world feels the impact. You might think, well, that's just the price of progress. But here's the truth. The economic instability caused by the IMF doesn't just affect the countries that are subjected to its conditions. It threatens the stability of the global economy as a whole. The wealth transfers from the south to the north. Rich nations get richer, while the poor are left with the bill. And as the cycle repeats, the world becomes more divided, more unstable, and more uncertain. We're all connected. This isn't just happening over there. This is happening times right here, times even if you can't see it yet. So now we have three potential futures in front of us. The path we take could shape everything. First, there's the asterisk, asterisk, adjustment, asterisk, asterisk scenario. The IMF might decide to pivot, to change its methods. There could be reforms, a rethinking of its approach. Maybe it starts putting people, not profits, at the center of its policies. But don't hold your breath. The IMF's track record is clear, and the global elites have a vested interest in keeping things the way they are. Second, there's the asterisk, asterisk, erosion, asterisk, asterisk scenario. This is where the system weakens but doesn't break. Over time, the damage done by IMF policies continues to accumulate. Countries keep borrowing, keep following IMF mandates, but the long-term effects are devastating. Economies spiral deeper into crisis, and dependency only grows. The divide between rich and poor widens, and the global power imbalance grows more entrenched. This path is the slow burn, the steady erosion of global stability. And finally, there's the asterisk, asterisk, rupture, asterisk, asterisk. The system could collapse entirely. People could rise up. Countries could reject the IMF, reclaim their economic sovereignty, and build a new model that doesn't rely on debt as a tool of control. We've already seen resistance in places like Bolivia, Russia, and China. But this is a dangerous path. The IMF and its allies won't give up control easily. A rupture could lead to widespread instability, chaos, and a complete reordering of the global economic system. Which of these paths will we take? It's still uncertain. But one thing is clear. The future is at a tipping point. So where does that leave us? There's no comfort here, no simple solution. The system we're living in, controlled by institutions like the IMF, is one of deep-rooted exploitation, with the wealth and power held by the few, while the rest of the world struggles beneath the weight of debt and dependency. But you know now. You can't ignore the truth anymore. You see how the IMF operates. You understand that debt is not just a financial problem, it's a weapon. And once you know this, you have a responsibility to act, to question, to resist. The future will be shaped by whether we continue down this path or whether we demand change. Whether we allow the system to continue or whether we say, enough. The time for complacency is over. If you've learned something today, if this has opened your eyes to the truth of the IMF's role in global economic control, then you have a choice. You can keep turning a blind eye, or you can dive deeper into the story. This isn't just a one-off. This is the beginning. In the next video, I'll uncover how the World Bank works in tandem with the IMF to cement this system of control and how we can fight back. But until then, ask yourself, are you on the side of those who control or those who are controlled? The choice is yours.